Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Obstacle Racing Media podcast and YouTube channel. I am your host, Matt B. Davis, and today we're giving you an AlUla FAQ. We have got Nick and Duncan from Cab Sports, the company that is producing this event, and we want to go over airports, visas, glamping, camping, race conditions, clothing, all the questions you've been having about coming to Saudi Arabia. We're going to answer them here in a nice little convo. But before we get to that, can we mention the amount of gray and white happening here? It's a very wintry thing. It's this. This is like the color of my hair and my beard, and so is this, and so is this. But first, let us mention today's sponsor, Resolute Coffee. If you're a fan of the Hybrid Fitness Media podcast and videos and socials, you've heard me talking about Resolute Coffee. We've got a cool monthly club. That's right. For $35, you're going to get some hand-picked coffees every single month. If you do it just for 1 month, you're going to get the amazing mug that you've seen me hold all the time. You've seen me talk about it. You've probably seen Rich Ryan with it. That's right. We've got a code for you. It's an HFM code, but you can still use it here, ORM fans. HFM1. That's for any products on the website at Resolute Coffee, but specifically, we'd love it if you joined the Crush It Club, and you can crush it like me at ResoluteCoffeeCo.com. And now, let us get into Nick and Duncan, all about AlUla. Away we go. I'd like to start with some of the bigger questions people have, people who've never traveled to the Middle East and specifically to Saudi, about how they should dress, or can I wear what I race in, and all that kind of stuff. Can you maybe address some of that?
It's I mean, the whole of the region is, if you live by the mantra of just be reasonable, the whole of the region is a very easy place to live. It's reasonable everything you do. Obviously, you need to respect local customs, but even just by being reasonable, everything is fine. I've lived in the region 12 years. Duncan, I think you've been here 10 years. I've never had a single problem with anything I've done, whether that's wearing, activity, any lifestyle choice I've made. I've not had a single problem. And it applies to, your the stuff you would wear on a route, the stuff you'll come to a village, the stuff you'll wear in AlUla. It's just be reasonable. I mean, there is more specific regulations or rules, or not necessarily regulations. There is more specific advice I could give, but it's, don't come dressed in a bra and pants. But that's pretty obvious, I think. It's just be reasonable, and you see people wearing slightly outlandish stuff, and there's not a problem. So it's a reasonable approach to everything that you do, and you'll not have a single problem in the Middle East.
Well, I think also, women have more concerns, and I know that, you guys, your moms and wives live there, so maybe you could explain that a little bit.
Same really. I mean, we've been to Saudi a few times now with female colleagues, and they're just maybe a little bit more conservative in the way they dress. They don't really have to be, and we've had meetings where Emirati men and Saudi men and Saudi women have said to us, we thank you very much for being overly conservative. You don't need to. And so, if you go to a mosque, then for sure you need to cover everything up. But if you go to a mall, if you go to a Tough Mudder event, like, I think if you're reasonable, you won't find a problem. My wife's lived here for 12 years, and she's not had a problem in that time either. She's not the most risque of ladies, so she doesn't wear, thongs and boob tubes anyway, but she doesn't wear them in Saudi.
Right. Well, I guess let's. Duncan? Yeah, do you have anything you want to add, Duncan?
I was just going to add, I think if you can also fall into that trap of jumping on the internet and finding all kinds of outlandish stuff, and just to kind of echo what Nick's saying, it's it's very, very easy to live here. And in the last couple of years, we've been traveling to Saudi a lot, and I think a great reference point would be to go and just have a look at the Tough Mudder Arabia socials, and you can actually physically see the pictures which is a great reference, and go to the Saudi events, the Jeddah events, the Riyadh event. We got these really cool posters up in our office of our previous events, and some of the coolest pictures we've got are of Saudi women who have participated. The first events that we ran in Saudi, we weren't 100% sure how the audience was going to react. So we ran mixed gender races in the morning heats, and then in the afternoon we had female only heats. And the female only heats in the afternoon were very, very unpopular, because what had happened is all the Saudi women, and the Saudi women are obviously a great reference point for how conservative or moderate you should be. They'd all come to the mixed gender event, and they'd worn sports clothes. Well, a couple of them had the hijabs. Those, I don't know if Nike are quite famous for advertising those the sporting head coverings, but the vast majority of them were just wearing shorts and t-shirts.
So let's
you read a lot of sorry, Matt, you read a lot of stuff from from newspapers, and I'm from the UK, and there's lots of newspapers back home will tell you can't do this, you can't do that, and it's just not the headlines are very, very wrong about the vast majority of the things that happen in this part of the world. Just live a normal life. Don't be whatever expletive it is. Don't be one of those, and you'll be totally fine.
Right. And I think the other thing that we were talking about a few weeks ago was, I think some of the websites are outdated, and there's no COVID protocols. There's no you don't need testing cards. You don't need anything because you just traveled, right?
Oh yeah, so the COVID stuff was dropped a really long time ago. So I'm pretty surprised that there's still reference to that at all. So in the last 18 months, 20 months that we've been traveling, there's been zero mention of COVID at any airport or in any any reference to it at all. So COVID is no longer an issue. Even the visa process. I'm South African, so I've got one of the toughest passports in the world. Travel is pretty challenging for me to Europe, to the US, but getting into Saudi now is super simple. And for most passport holders can just get visa on arrival, or just a really easy e-visa online. So the whole process, Saudi have been very progressive and are evolving at such an incredible rate. Every time we go there, it's just like, wow, this place is pretty amazing, and it's going to become a real hub for sports in the years to come.
So you said you can get a visa on site. You don't necessarily have to get one in addition to because like when I went to China, for example, I had to go and spend an extra, 200 American to get a China visa to go to China on top of my passport. You're saying I don't need to do that for Saudi. They'll give me one when I land.
It does depend on your, yeah, I was going to say, it does depend on what passport you hold. But what we'll do is, as people sign up, there'll be a pretty comprehensive database of what the requirements are for the various passports. As a worst case scenario, you may need to pay for a visa, which I had to do as a South African, and that was around $80 at the time. But we'll send out all that information. We'll put links up that'll give people very clear indication of what the requirements are. I'd recommend if anybody does need a visa based on their passport, just to do the online visa application. It's super, super simple, and it comes back really quickly.
Who is that through?
That is through the Saudi Ministry of Interior.
Okay, so I can look that up and grab a link for this call too.
There's a link on our FAQs, and our travel partner will assist with anybody who has any requirements for travel or hotel, or we have our own campsite. But I would definitely recommend, if you can, I would recommend getting your visa before you travel, just so then it avoids any queue. If there is going to be a delay, it'll be because you come across someone who doesn't speak English, and then you don't speak Arabic. So it's best just and it is easy to do in advance. So just jump on the website. Some passports are more difficult than others, and if you have any problem, then like Duncan said, we'll be putting everybody in touch with our travel partner. They look after athletes all around the world in multiple sports, and they're looking forward to looking after the Tough Mudder athletes as well.
So that's one of the other things that I wanted to talk about. Number one, unfortunately, some people did not have a great experience in Abu Dhabi that first year. So I wanted to clear up what the difference in the tents and the area you're providing versus the tents in the area that they might have dealt with in winter of 2021 in Abu Dhabi.
I'd like to say that the primary difference is that we're actually providing tents. We participated in that same event, and we saw what the campsite was, and it was effectively just harassed fencing, which had, cordoned off a section of area that had zero facilities. We've invested very, very heavily in the campsite, so we are providing all the facilities. We are providing the tents, and the tents come in various options. The glamping tents are probably nicer than a lot of the hotels that you can get back home. Proper beds, proper linen. We've imported all of the tents from a specialist company out of the UK who manage high-end festivals. You'd be shocked at how much we've spent on it, to be honest. Don't tell Nick. But yeah, so we're providing an end-to-end experience. What we're trying to do here is uplift OCR in every possible way. From the time that people touch down at the airport in Saudi, we're going to take care of them. Airport transfers, a couple of additionals that they're not going to expect that are just nice little surprises, and the accommodation is going to be of an exceptionally high standard. It's camping is a pretty, it doesn't do it justice, to be honest. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Nick told me he was going to personally put a chocolate on my pillow and tuck me in every night. That's what Nick promised me. I don't think everybody gets that, but I think I get that.
Only one.
Nick's wife does everybody else.
Easy now.
So, okay, so let's talk about airports. A lot of people are asking me, the prices range all over the place depending on when people are looking to book and where they're coming from. So let's break down best airports to travel to and which parts you said you can help with in terms of transfers or buses or to the side and all that kind of stuff. Do we have that?
So there's a large number of hubs in the region. So everybody will be aware of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar Airways, Emirates Airlines, Etihad Airways, and they're all top 5, top 10 largest airports, largest airlines in the world, and they're very easy to get to. Where it's more of a problem is getting to specifically AlUla. AlUla is a very small town, a pretty secluded place that doesn't have a massive airport, but it does have travel links. There's a direct flight in from Doha, there's a direct flight in from UAE, from Dubai, and also in the rest of Saudi Arabia, there are some major airports. You can fly direct to Saudi Arabia from multiple US cities, from I think 20 or 30 European cities. And then there's 2 relatively large airports relatively close to AlUla as well. So, obviously each individual person's journey is going to be pretty unique to them. But what we're doing is like I said, we've got a travel agent who works with some major global sporting brands. They work with Sparta, and as part of that, they also work with some triathletes, some endurance runners, delivering events all over the world. And they're used to moving people around. And like Duncan has just said, our goal is to make each sort of engagement with us as positive as we can be. So as the sales come in, though, until we know there's 500 people coming from New York or 500 people coming from London, it's very difficult to say specifically this. But the plan is to do whatever we can to make the trip it's not going to be an easy trip because it is a long way from wherever you're coming. If you're coming from your normal listeners and viewers, they're going to be traveling a long way. But we're going to make it as easy as we possibly can. And that will include transfer from the airport and lots of information to help make that journey easy. in terms of specifics, when people are planning their journey, focus on those hubs we've spoken about. Please look at Jeddah and Riyadh. We have a conversation with Saudi Arabia Airlines, who are very keen to make the journey easy for you. So they'll provide. It's not 100% confirmed exactly the process yet, but we had another live conversation today to lock it all down. So it'll be pretty soon. They'll provide hopefully discount codes to use Saudi Arabia Airlines that will get you direct from many places around the world into Jeddah, Riyadh, and then from there it's relatively easy to just a simple journey up to AlUla. What I would suggest is once people have made the decision to come, is then get in touch with our partner is Nirvana, and they will assist. So they'll help you find the right way in. They'll help. We're going to be putting on like additional schedule flights. So the local airlines have said if you get the numbers we're expecting, they will have to put on additional schedule flights, which they're happy to do. And we'll be then planning how to get people from either Dubai or Doha or Riyadh or Jeddah to AlUla. And so just once people start booking their tickets, like we've said, there'll be information coming out. So speak to these people for visas, speak to these people for travel, speak to these people for airline. And we'll do our best to make it as seamless as possible.
But of all those cities you mentioned, is there any one particular, Jeddah, Riyadh, or Qatar, like any of these places you would specifically recommend? Or
I think the easiest one for travel would probably be Doha. The flights into AlUla, the direct flights, the current direct flights suit the event timing very well. But like Nick said, I think it's pretty important to just be aware of what we're going to do with Saudi Airline. We spoke to one of their senior directors today, who is very keen to not only help us in terms of routings, but also to help in terms of the pricing for people that are going to come and participate at to get discounted flights. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, if that long, we'll be able to put some information out in terms of the best possible routings and the most cost-effective way to get there.
One thing I would ask people to consider is, especially if you're coming from, USA, Canada, Europe, you are coming quite a long way. It is an unusual part of the world to come to. There's different experiences to be had either in Saudi Arabia or in places like the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, even further afield. Spend a bit more time in region if available. It's a really interesting place to be. It's a region that has changed a lot over the last 30, 40 years. Since the time I've been here, it's changed dramatically, and it has massive ambition to contribute to the world in many ways in the future. And it's a real eye-opening place to live. It's a very different culture, but like I said, it's a really reasonable place to be. And I'd recommend looking at exploring the world when you come to Tough Mudder. But like I said, everybody's got their own journey, and there is, Duncan said, like the Doha route is the exact one to get you in on a Friday and leave on a Sunday. And Doha's really easy to get to from many cities around the world. And Dubai also has a regular route on a Thursday, which might suit the American market a little bit more.
So can we back up a little bit and talk about sort of how this event came to be and the big payout and what this is all about in the first place?
Over to you, Duncan.
Yeah, so it was actually a discussion that started. It started around five years ago. There was a guy that we'd done business before that was working for the Royal Commission of AlUla, who was interested in hosting some kind of an event to put AlUla on the map. AlUla, for a very long time, there were very large parts of that of AlUla that were completely off limits to not only expats but also even Saudi nationals. And as Saudi has opened up and progressed, this has become now available for people to visit, and it is visually so stunning. The area is known for the Nabateens, which most people will know from the rock formations in Petra in Jordan. So it looks very similar to that. There's also amazing oases, and anyway, so there was this idea to how do we do something that's super cool, and we'll get people to come and visit. that area, if I don't know if you're familiar with the story of the Lawrence of Arabia, it's a historic story, and this is actually where it happened. So initially, we had an idea of theming this a Tough Mudder event as a Lawrence of Arabia, and trying to get a movie company to, or a film crew to help us build the obstacles that were all period correct. And so I'm a commercial guy that comes up with some crazy ideas, and over the time it kind of got brought down a little bit. And Nick and I went to visit them around 2 years ago. We spoke about the project again, and they were like, "Yeah, let's do it." So the idea was to do the world's richest obstacle course race. That was kind of always on the cards, and strategically it fits into what we're trying to do with OCR in the region. I'm not going to say too much on that at the minute, but we would ideally like to have a series of similar events across the region that are supported by a secondary series of community events, and so that's our strategy, and this is the first step in our journey towards that goal.
Do you want to add anything to that?
No, it's Duncan's. It's his baby. I'm happy to leave it with him, that one.
Well, what are some of the other things that you think it's important for our global audience to know?
I mean, just as as an event organizer, we are always we're always watching other events, right? And we participate in a lot of OCR events ourselves. Nick is also a keen triathlete. He does Ironman events. And what we'd really like to do for the sport of OCR is just to really uplift the standard of everything. We want to really set the bar. As you know, OCR is now going to be an Olympic event. It is part of the pentathlon, and that, I believe, is a journey to it eventually being a freestanding sport. And we believe that the sport should be uplifted and become more mainstream. So, what we want to do is we want people to come to this event and really walk away going, wow, that is insane. Just the whole experience has got to be greater than anything that they've done before in our sport. That's what we want.
From I guess from my side, less Hollywood. It's, just to mention, people in the past have concerns around safety, and that sort of goes back to your point about reasonable dress and stuff. And it's a very safe part of the world. We've lived here a long time. We've kind of lived a closeted life. I mean, as long as this doesn't get put out to the general public, I think Duncan leaves his front door open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now he's going to lock it now.
I don't know where the key is though.
But some people we've had people in the past. We literally ran a competition. We offered two individual couples, a prize from the UK and a prize from the USA to come to an event we held in the UAE, full planes paid, travel paid for, accommodation for a week, and the tickets to our Tough Mudder event. And they heard rumors that you got put in prison if you weren't married and you were in the same hotel room. They heard rumors about. We're like, none of that is true. None of that is true. You're very safe. No one's going to assault your personal liberties. And the safety thing is, I find it a really, really safe place to live.
I heard
go back home to the UK. I make mistakes about living the same way, and I've suffered the consequences of leaving my car open or leaving my phone somewhere. I'm sat in a coffee shop now. I could leave tonight, go home, come back in the morning, and someone would give me my phone and my wallet that is on the side here because they pick it up and save it for me.
I did that last week, actually.
Yeah, I heard the same thing about couples not being married. Absolutely not true.
And there's in the UK, there's rules like if you throw litter on the floor in Chichester, you're going to get put in prison for 10 years. And possibly on the statute books, there is a regulation, but we know loads of people who are not married and they spend lots of time, maybe in multiple different rooms.
I can book a tent with whoever I want, and a hotel with whoever I want.
Matt,
No
you're in with
issue with that
me.
at all.
Matt, you're in with me, so don't book it with anybody else.
The royal me. I was just sort of trying to
Yes,
explain
exactly. Yeah,
to people. So let's
yeah, no
so
problem.
so let's talk a little about the course. Another big question I'm getting is about again, Abu Dhabi. I believe that first year was a lot of sand dunes. And so people are asking me, is it hard sand? Is it soft sand? Is there elevation? Can you talk about the course layout? And obviously we'll have a map as we get closer, but is there anything we can say now about the course?
It's a mix. Like we like Duncan said, we did that event last year, and like it wasn't enjoyable. We want it to be a challenge. We want people to enjoy it, but it needs to be tough mudder. It needs to be worthy of the prize money that's on offer. But it's just stupid to have too much soft sand. So it'll be a mix. There will be some soft sand, but not too much. It's a lot of compacted sand, a lot of trails,
And there's going to be
some
mud.
small amount of gravel track, and there will be mud. We've been told we're shipping in mud for the region. There's some elevation. It's not like a really hilly. You look at it and you might not see some elevation, but it's kind of that elevation that just gets you. It's just a constant 2 or 3% rise for a period of time. It's in a location that it's not surrounded by rocks and cliffs, but there is rocks and cliffs. So there's no danger of rocks and cliffs falling on you, for example. And it runs through some farms, I believe. Pretty varied. Pretty varied. Obviously, it is Saudi Arabia.
Chicken farms?
Say again?
Chicken farms,
Chicken
vegetable farms?
More likely date farms. More likely date farms or camel
Dates.
farms, maybe.
Camel farm. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. It will be, traditional tough mud affair in a very visually appealing location with elements of, we want it to be a big challenge. The person who's going to win this is going to work hard to win it. So, it won't be, it won't be as hard as the soft mud, the soft sand that was in Liwa. So yeah, hopefully that explains.
Are you really shipping in mud?
There's mud actually there. There is actually mud there. So it's just like Duncan said. There's the Nabatean, who are one of the great civilizations from back in the day. But when they came through Saudi Arabia, there's this. AlUla itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there's a significant number of excavated mud villages and mud towns, and so the bricks and the houses have all been created from mud. So where this heritage mud is, they're allowing us to pick some of it up and stick it on course where we need it. Where there is mud already on the course, obviously we don't need to move it. But for the simple value, we always struggle in the Middle East to get proper mud. We're tough mudder. We would like it to be more muddy. It is tough mudder. It's not tough sander. But for this one, there'll be a lot more mud than we're normally used to. We did an event recently in Fujairah, which is another of the UAE's Emirates, and it's on rock, so there's no mud there. And I think in the States, some events will struggle to get mud if they're in the desert or if they're in particular places that are not particularly green. But yeah, there will be mud where we are.
And then I was thinking about I just had it and it went away. We were just talking about
yourself?
the mud.
8 hours, you're going to run the 8 hours?
No, I'll do a lap for funsies though, maybe 2. Oh, I was asking about, you said the other place just had a fenced off area, and this is there, so if I'm living in the tent, is there food trucks? Is there a town? Like, what's the actual setup of the event site?
So it's going to be a combination. As part of your entry ticket, we provide a certain amount of meals, which are catered by a movie production company. That also, just as a matter of interest, did the new Gerard Butler movie Kandahar, which was filmed in the same area, same place. And then for additional food, there will be various catering and food truck options. And just like another point, just even on the food stuff and the for the athletes that are participating in the Infinity, there'll be a proper recovery area with all the amenities that they would need, including snacks. We'll probably have some fruits and sugary sweets and anything else that they might need to help them power through the 8 hours.
If people want to bring their own, there is some sort of shopping, I'm guessing, between airport and the site. I know that because that's what, like in America, you land and the first thing you do is you go to Walmart or Target or Whole Foods and you get all the stuff that you like. So I assume there's something along the way. I know you said it's kind of a way off area, but there's stuff to get on the way.
There's,
There are. Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
go ahead. Yeah, I mean, there is. It's a relatively small town, and it's only recently relatively developed. So if you're expecting strip malls of different options, then you will be mistaken. But there's a really nice restaurant and a really nice coffee shop, a pretty medium-sized supermarket that has probably a higher percentage of unhealthy foods than in the more modern amenities. But like Duncan said, we'll be providing options in the village. The village is about 15 minutes outside of the Tough Mudder village is about 15 minutes outside of the town centre of AlUla. There will be transportation available if people arrive at the right time. Like if you arrive Friday night and leave Sunday morning, you're not going to have any time to go to check things out. But if you arrive on a Thursday and you wanted to go and check out the town on the Friday, or even do a visit one of these amazing historical sites, then there's plenty of ways to do that. We've visited before, and we're used to living in Dubai, where everything is available on a plate at a second's notice. It is not that type of existing. It's a very chilled place, a very relaxed place, a very historic place, a pretty quiet place. And if people have specific dietary requirements, then I would suggest they get in touch with us and let us know if we can assist, but also work on a solution where if they've got specific things they want to bring, then I would suggest bring them with you, because like a wide selection of athletic snacks that you're used to in, say, New York is not available in AlUla.
Right. And again, they don't need to worry about renting a car, for example, because once they get to AlUla proper, you guys can get us to the race.
So
we'll handle all of that.
So from if you land at AlUla Airport, then we will be aware of your flight. We'll greet you at the airport. We'll get you on a bus. We'll take you direct to the Tough Mudder village. You will check in, I'm going to say immediately. If there's a slight queue, then obviously there's an opportunity to maybe have some food then, meet local people, and go through to the campsite, unpack. If you're in the glamping option, then turn on your light and enjoy the luxury of the blanket. If you're in the camping option, then open your sleeping bag. And then depending on what time you're there, there'll be a shuttle bus to and from the town centre to go and experience. It's a really nice place to go and look at.
Right.
Like
and
I said, if you have time, say ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead.
And if you have time, there is within probably 2 or 3 hours drive, 5 or 6 individual things that are really cool to go and look at. There's the things that are similar to the Petra, some weird rock formations out in the desert. There's weird volcanic activity, old activity out in another direction. There's one of the most amazing buildings in the world within 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
What's it called?
Every time you see it. It's called the Mariah Building, Maraya. Until you actually see it, you can't believe what it is. It's just super impressive. I mean, doesn't actually do much. It's a conference center, but it's literally going to worth to see it just for the sake of seeing it. It's spectacular.
Right. And Mariah Carey lives there, and she'll come out and maybe sing for you. She'll sing a couple of Christmas tunes, maybe for you.
We're this close to getting her to do the victory song when someone crosses the line. This close. Just got to agree the budget, and then we're done.
Well, I think we covered most of the questions that I thought people wanted answers. Is there anything else before I let you guys go? What we want to cover?
No, I think so. I mean, obviously, we're more than happy to jump on again at any time if you have any more questions, and we would encourage people to just engage with us. We have a team specifically. We run sports events throughout the year, but we have a team specifically dedicated to looking after this particular event. And just reach out via, go onto the Tough Mudder Arabia website, see the contact details there. Just reach out if you have any questions. Look at the FAQs, send us an email. And like I said, with travel, we have a company that is tasked with helping everybody get from wherever you are to AlUla, helping you with accommodation options if people don't want to join the campsite. like, I'm not going to lie, the accommodation options in AlUla are pretty pricey. It's positioned as, it's a luxury resort. It's a luxury location. They're targeting people who are going to want to come and spend a lot of money. So the hotels can be pricey and they're pretty limited in scope. But our travel agency is tasked with helping with that. And then if anybody has any questions around specifics around some of the stuff we've covered around reasonable behavior, specific questions on safety or visas, or just get in touch, because we have a team their job is to help make your journey to come and join us in AlUla a really easy one.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to include links for even more answers about the travel company you heard about more FAQ about how the race is going to go. Thank you again to today's sponsor, Resolute Coffee. Please be like me, enjoy the coffee, enjoy the amazing mug that says crush it, and you can be one of the cool kids. Love you, miss you, mean it. I've got to run.